tonight, but I believe all is okay now. I believe I can come out of hiding and we can have a good time. But yep, getting ready to head into the stretch run of the UFL season. Playoffs quickly on the horizon. Like y'all talked a little bit kind of about the playoffs on your show this past week. Not that much suspense left in the league in terms of who's going to make it in. Maybe some seeding, but as you look at the AFC and the NFC, and like I said, you kind of talked about this on the power rankings, but we're going to talk about it again tonight. What storylines are you really paying attention to outside of really seeing who like the number one overall seeds are, which the Seahawks pretty much have that right up in the NFC, but maybe the Mustangs can make a play for in the AFC if the Titans are able to slip up.
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody's work's pretty much cut out for them if they want to change anything. The Seahawks, I don't think anybody can overtake them. Um, the Warriors are 11-3, the Seahawks 13-0, so no, that one's pretty done. We would have an outside shot at catching the Titans. They'd have to lose to us in one other game though. They're 12-1, we're 11-3, so um, on top of the task of beating them, somebody else has to, and I'm not quite sure that anybody else is there. So, it's just kind of about whether or not we want to enter in looking at maybe the 2 seed or the 3 seed, would probably be our worst case scenario as far as over there goes. I think the 2 and 3 spot's still at play. I believe the 4 spot is locked up with you guys or with the Bulldogs. I'm not sure if the Huskies if y'all can catch them or not. I don't think so, just from looking at it. So, a little bit of suspense left. Really, the one that everybody's going to be watching is Cowboys and Broncos if the Broncos can catch them. So, the Broncos have played significantly fewer games. Like, I think they have 3 extra games going down this last stretch from a couple of cancellations. So, they've got their work cut out from them, but they just logged that win, so that'll help too. So, that's to me really the most appealing story, as far as intrigue left, going forward. Who's going to finish in the playoffs between those teams? Actually, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the number 3 spot. They're fighting for the number 3 spot. The real contest is going to be the 3 and 4 between the Broncos and Patriots. So ignore everything I just said about that. The Broncos are sitting at 3 and 9. The Patriots are at 4 and 9, but lead in the division, and the Broncos just got that heads-up win. So um, they've got wins recently over the Cowboys and the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken. So that's really going to play into their favor.
Yeah, and I mean, really, from the Cowboys to the Patriots, as that winds down, 'cause I think everybody for the most part has, I think maybe um, two conference games left. I think maybe three. Kind of depends on how your schedule has shaken out. I think we have two, maybe three left, which means we're mathematically not out of it. Granted, it's a lot. You're gonna pretty much like as far as the Huskies go, we'd have to win out from this point to really make the Bulldogs sweat as to whether or not because we play them one more time coming up in a couple weeks, plus a game with the Cobras, and then we get the Titans. So and then I think there's another. We play the Broncos, but that doesn't have really any bearing other than like points for and against. So mathematically not out of it as far as that, but a lot more entry, like you said, from the Cowboys to the Broncos to the Patriots. That's 3 teams playing for 2 spots. If the Cowboys drop the ball down the stretch, they could be on the outside looking in if the Patriots are able to reel off, wins in the remaining of their schedule, which of course I don't have with me. But good to see the Broncos finally starting to put some things together. We've kind of implored it all season long, and them jumping the Patriots, who they've been behind for the vast majority of the season. But no, the Patriots have been. It was the Broncos who have been behind because we were talking about them, um, struggling to get some wins early on. But Baldev really starting to get that team rolling. And from how the teams have played, it's gonna be tough for the Patriots to jump them because I believe you're looking at the Patriots have stalled and have kind of been declining over the past couple of weeks, and the Broncos finally seem to kind of be figuring it out. And I think we're really going to see themselves kind of solidify themselves into that 4 spot and make their first trip to the postseason here in the UFL.
Yeah, I think if you tag most improved over the last month team right now, it'd probably be the Broncos. And that's not an insult, to anybody else. I'm just saying that from where they were a month ago to where they're at now,
I agree 100%.
they've probably taken more steps. And it looks like really all they were waiting for to happen was to me to get off their bandwagon. Because as soon as I gave up, like, yeah, okay, I give
Right.
up, I was wrong. They start reeling off wins. So congrats to them for not giving it up. And really, from talking to them, I mentioned this once, so I won't say it a whole lot before I move on. But from talking to them, that's really an excited and energetic group right now. Like they don't really worry about their record. They see playoffs as the goal, and if they make the playoff, then the wins and losses don't really matter. They're fired up about it, and they're really playing some fun football right now.
Yeah, we talk about it. No matter what team you're in, the key is to get into the dance because once you get there, anything's possible. Granted, the chips may be stacked against you, playing a team like like the Mustangs or the Titans or the Seahawks or the Warriors. Really, those top four teams. Throw the Raiders in there too. The chips may kind of be stacked against you if you're one of those middle to lower tier teams. But man, you get in there, and all it takes is just one game at a time. Anything can happen. And I would love to have a season where and when I say elect, I don't mean it in a mean way, but the ones who've always been there. Man, I'd love to see a team like the Broncos get in there and make a little bit of noise. Granted they'd have to play the Seahawks week, the first one. That would be tough. But the Broncos have played the Seahawks. They played them respectfully, closer than a lot of teams have played the Seahawks. So do I
Well,
think that there's a threat on that to happen? No. But would I love to see it? Maybe we'd see it more in the AFC if a team like, the Bulldogs are really that Raiders Mustangs, and then that Raiders Mustangs matchup, the winner of that against the Titans. I'd like to see a different team get up in there and make some noise this season.
um,
Maybe it's the Huskies.
to kind of hit
Just
on
say,
to hit on that point a little bit more. I'll have to double check the Warriors' first game, but I don't know of a team. I don't even think when the Bucks played them when they were still here. How many did the Bucks score on the Seahawks? Was it like 12? Wasn't it 12-7 or somewhere like that?
it was something like that. Yeah, it was a very low scoring game. It wasn't a lot.
Well, the last time they played, the Broncos put 14 on them. I don't know of another game this season that people have scored 2 touchdowns on them. So I'll have to look. Maybe the Titans did. You know,
No, the Titans only put up three. I
okay,
know 'cause we were watching that game
okay.
earlier, but yeah.
Well, I mean, really, there's only the Warrior game, and then I know that y'all. I mean, y'all scored more than them, obviously, but like I'm not sure that anybody else has even scored 2 touchdowns on them since the season began. So they do have a lot of things going their way, and they should have some interesting football coming down the stretch. So team to watch right there. And they've got a solid matchup. If I'm looking at this right, that may have been last week. So did they play the Cowboys this coming?
Who? The Broncos?
Yeah.
They just played the Cowboys.
Okay. Then
And the
I
yeah.
copied the wrong note card that you gave me then. Well, all
Yeah,
right.
it was they played them on Saturday and they beat them 24-17, a really good game. So they already got a leg up right there. Like we're saying, I mean, if the Patriots are able to get their stuff together, and the Cowboys don't have their stuff together, then you can see the Patriots jumping up and taking the Cowboys out. Because I think the Patriots, I think they might have no, they didn't beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys beat the Patriots the first time they played. So a lot of stuff, man. I mean, not at the top. We're not talking about jockeying for position 1 and 2, but you start getting down to 3 and 4, or just four, especially in the NFC, and it's going to be a lot to talk about. A lot of exciting football moving forward. So we will run back over the overall standings in the AFC and the NFC, and we'll turn into our Week 14 review. That was 2 weeks ago. Kind of get everybody's whistle wet back with football, give our predictions, and talk about a few little things also that we're going to start implying here on the Pulse as the season wraps to an end to kind of set the tone for how the show is going to be done in terms of next season, because we will be back even though we still have a ways to go on this one. But the AFC, you have the Titans in first place at 12-1. They're 7-0 in the conference. The Mustangs in second, 11-3 overall, 6-1 in the conference. So jockeying for a little bit of position there, just one game back. The Raiders are 9-4, 5-2. The Bulldogs are 6-7, 3-5. The Huskies are 2-10, 1-6. The Cobras are 2-12. They are 0-8 in the AFC. The Seahawks in the NFC are in the top spot, 13-0, 7-0 respectively. The Warriors are at 11-3 and 6-2. The Cowboys are at 6-8, 4-4. The Broncos are at 3-9, 3-4. The Patriots are at 4-9, 2-5. And that wraps it up in the NFC. So jumping into Week 14, that was 2 weeks ago. Friday night, it was all kicked off with the Warriors against the Seahawks. That was the game of the weekend. It was a close one early, but it was not a close one late as the Seahawks pull away and put it on the Warriors 46-14. So there you go. Talked about nobody scored 2 touchdowns.
Yep,
The
that would be
Warriors
the
did it.
one. Yes.
The Broncos and the Cowboys early game on Saturday. This was the most enticing game of the weekend, the most exciting one to watch. And the Broncos come away with a 24-17 win as late in the season they are getting that team and their season turned around, making a push and getting themselves into playoff position. The early game on Sunday at 4, it was the Bulldogs and the Titans. Expected this one to be a close one, but the Titans make it happen. 70-14. I wrote that wrong. That Titans with a big win in that one. Then the Huskies against the Raiders in the late game there. Raiders 79-7 winners over the Huskies. And then Monday, the Cobras and the Mustangs. And the Mustangs put on them 42-3. So, Syke, out of all the scores and all the storylines from 2 weekends ago, what really jumps out at you?
That win with the Broncos, really. I mean, I won't spend a whole lot of time going right back to it, but I mean, they're a team that was in a corner, and it was like fight your way out or don't, and they did fight their way out. So to me, that was. I mean, I may have even picked them, but I mean, it wasn't a shock so much. It was like refreshing to see, that this team is pumping some
Yeah.
life into the season. Other than that, I mean, that was the only positive, I guess, thing that I saw. A couple disappointments that some of the scores were, ended up being as wide as they were, as far as apart. But for the most part, everybody, I think has kind of settled into where they are this season. Both conferences, unfortunately, they've got very clear number ones and relatively distant number twos, and that's going to be difficult, to overcome if you're in that number two spot. There's a lot more bunched together from the 2s and 3 spots in each conference than there is from the 1 and 2. So it really is going to be on that 2 and 3 game to determine a winner that can give that number 1, a run for their money in the final. Because I mean, as of right now, I don't really give a number 4 very much of a shot against either number 1 seed, the Titans or the Seahawks.
Yeah, no. I mean, even looking down, I mean, you give the number 2 some, but not even that much of a play. I mean, you saw 1 and 2 Seahawks and Warriors, and the game was 46-14. Thing about that game though is the Warriors have it close all throughout the first half. I commentated the ball game and was really expecting it to kind of stay kind of nip and tuck throughout. But as the Seahawks often do, man, they force you into making mistakes, and then they capitalize on it, and then it's that quicksand, it's that snowball effect, and then just bad things start happening. And that's what happened for the Warriors. They started to turn the ball over a few times. I think they missed a field goal. And once they missed the field goal, they didn't venture back really into scoring position much after that. The Seahawks just put the clamp down on the defensive side of the ball, had some early takeaways and possessions, and then the Seahawks just started racking up the points and really extended it to the point that I think really near the end of the third quarter, the game was pretty much said in hand. I think the Seahawks had another couple of late scores in it to really kind of seal it away. The Broncos went over the Cowboys. Really, as you said, really happy about that one. Excited about the Broncos. We've been on their case all season long. Nice to see a team finally, stepping forward. Making some adjustments, making some changes, and finally getting some wins. A team that we expected a lot out of when the season began, finally starting to put it all together. The Titans and the Bulldogs, this game kind of disappointed me. 70-14. I thought the Bulldogs would play them closer. I expected them to, but the Titans proved just too much in that game. Huskies and the Raiders 79-7. There's a huge gap between those two teams right now, and I can say that as a member of the Huskies. A lot of yeah, I don't necessarily say it's a 79-7 gap, but I mean it is a pretty wide margin, as evident in that one. And the Cobras and the Mustangs, I believe that game tells as much as it really is. You got the Cobras, who were last place team, and the Mustangs, who were up there in the second spot, and the Mustangs put it on them 42-3. So we didn't make our picks because we didn't have a show that week. But right now the picks still set it the way that they were. 49-5 for me, 47-7 for Syke. So, Syke, you got anything to say about Week 14 before we talk a little bit about some new things that we want to do with the show moving forward?
Um, nothing stands out that we haven't already broken down. So now we can go ahead and get to the new stuff.
Nice. Yeah, me, over the long break, we had a little bit of time to kind of sit down and talk about what we want to do, in terms of the show. I really want to become more interactive. We were a lot more interactive last season, with polls. We polled you guys on what you thought would be kind of the game of the week, and I don't think there's much dispute on what that game is going to be. But we're going to look to do some more of that stuff. Also, if you'd like to join us up here, we do have a free seat. May potentially look at bringing in a guest person, on a weekly basis. Hopefully next week we were slated to have Arwen and Cal join us this week, but due to some real life stuff, with me, we pushed the show back to today, and they were unable to make it. But they're going to be with us hopefully next week. I'm going to talk to them, to talk about the magazine, the Pulse magazine. It has nothing. It's not us, but it is called the Pulse, the UFL magazine. Kind of talk about how it all came together, what their plans are, moving forward. If you'd like to be a part of the show, if you're a team owner, if you're a team rep, if you want to get on here and you want to talk about your team, you can just let us know. We're gonna. There's a lot of things that we want to have to do that we kind of have to set in motion. One thing that we are going to start looking at, we did a lot of players of the week last year. I know everybody remembers that. We combatant partnered with us, and we were able to do cleats. Since we didn't do that throughout the duration of the season, what we're going to start looking at is a Pulse Player of the Year. We're going to start kind of polling it, amongst ourselves, and as well as talking about it on the Pulse page, getting a list of players together. We're going to put a ballot out. Me and Syke are going to, of course, ultimately decide on it, but we're going to have a fan vote process to it as well. And we're going to give something away. And it, of course, has nothing to do with the UFL in terms of the awards that they do at the end of the season, but you will kind of be, you will then be the Pulse Player of the Year, and who we feel to be, the MVP or the most important player. But then, of course, the UFL is going to give away their awards as well. So this is in no way to diminish that, but a little something that we're going to do because we want everybody to get the recognition that they deserve, as the season goes on. So interviews, awards, polls. We're going to start trying to do a lot of different things, as we move forward with the show, and really get it set in a good place, for season 3. So, Syke, did I leave anything out or anything that you want to add in terms of stuff that we're going to try to do here on the Pulse, moving on throughout the rest of the season and into the next one?
No, I'm really looking forward to the guests more than anything. Last season, I think both this show and the Power Ranking show did a better job as far as bringing people in, and it was pretty informative for folks. I know I left a lot of those interviews feeling like I knew a lot more than I did going into it. So the only thing I can confirm is that if the UFL does a swimsuit edition, similar to Sports Illustrated, I won't be on the cover. So.
That's all we know.
Right. Nobody's contacted me about being the cover boy for it. So I don't know. Maybe we can find some cheerleaders and throw that together. So UFL magazine, the Pulse. Let's get on that. Let's make
we'll
that happen.
That's right. That in a calendar. For
Right.
November.
That'll be my question for the very first one next week. Just remind me. I'll ask them when that's coming. So.
Yeah. But if you would like, I said, to be a part of it, just in terms of being a general guest, in terms of kind of a guest picker, we'll kind of move along with that. But we're also going to, we may just contact people and ask you to be on the show, to kind of talk about something that we're interested in either knowing or getting some more information out. Also, on the Pulse Facebook page, it's not so much this season, but moving forward, we want to really be the number one place for the news in the UFL. So trades, releases, signings, when all that stuff starts happening in season 3, we're gonna we all patrol, the activity board or whatever it is, recent activity on the site. So we will be posting up that information and getting it kind of out, and kind of keep everything going, especially as the off season goes and teams start to come together and we're able to see it. It's going to give us a lot to talk about as we go through the off season, and we'll throw some Pulse shows in there on that as well. So a lot of exciting stuff to do. Like we said, if you want to be a part of the Pulse, contact Syke, contact me, and we will get you all set up, and we will be good to go. So that is it for our little housekeeping stuff in terms of what we're going to be doing. And we're going to jump right into Week 15, starting off tomorrow at 4. We have the Titans against the Huskies. Dyke, who do you got? Why do you got them? Any thoughts about the game? Because I can't pick this one.
Right. Well, I love you and all, but I'm going Titans for this
You
one.
know, I don't blame you. I'm not mad at you.
So,
I'm a realist. You know.
yeah, I mean, I think you guys are coming along, but I think it's this close to the end of the season. You're not catching the Titans early or anything. They're pretty well rock solid. So I see another, a fairly comfortable win for them moving on to their potential number 1 seed.
That's right. And a lot of people, 99.999% of the league feels that way, and probably many people on our team feel that way. But it's going to be good in any case. It's going to be fun. Looking forward to it. I mean, Titans, it's always fun to play against those guys. Watching, film on them, getting ready. That they play the game the right way. They've been together a long time. You know what they're going to do. There's really not that many surprises in terms of what they're going to throw at you on either side of the ball. Just they do it better than you can do it a lot of the times, and just nothing but respect for that team. Looking forward to to a fun game tomorrow at 4, and then at 7 it's going to be the Patriots against the Seahawks. So I'm going to say the Seahawks in this one. I'm going to say pretty comfortably, because I think the Patriots are a team right now that's just trying to make it to the end of the season. And that might be kind of harsh to say, but it's kind of how I feel having seen them play over the last couple of weeks. Like, any thoughts?
Hang on, shoot me the game again, because I'm looking.
Patriots and the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, nothing other than just look out Seahawks, or look out Patriots. I mean, for the Seahawks, I don't think that they're anywhere near stumbling, and it's just one of those that Tupac can make some catches, but he's not going to outcatch the entire Seahawks team the entire game.
Right.
Earlier when we were breaking down the Seahawks, the analogy that came to my mind with them is they're a lot like a python. They'll wrap around you and you'll fight for a little while, but the minute that you exhale or take a breath, they just keep squeezing harder and harder and harder, and then before you know it, it's over. They're that type of team that a team like the Warriors can get up and can they can fight with them at that very first of the game, like you saw happen. By the end of the game, every little mistake just compounds to the point that they've just squeezed the game right out of you. With the Patriots, I mean, I would leave if I was a Patriot feeling like I'd beat the world if it was tied at halftime. I don't think that they could close it out, but I mean, if they're even tied with the Seahawks at halftime, I'll be shocked. So it's just that's basically the way that I see that one going.
Yeah, it's kind of what you talk about a lot of teams needing to do when you play the Seahawks, or a team that is clearly superior to yours. And it's hard to do this if you are the Patriots, because I don't really think that it's instilled in their DNA offensively to eat the clock, to take the time off, to find whatever it is the Seahawks are going to give you on offense. Because what you have to do when you're playing a team that is better than you is you have to play keep away. You have to shorten the game up, reduce the amount of possessions, because the Seahawks could beat you bad, and really dominate the ball game. But if you only allow 4 or 5 possessions, it can only be 28-0.
Right.
And that looks a whole lot better than getting beat 98-0, because you keep heaving the ball deep down the field because you think, and Tupac can catch all over everybody, we know. But, I mean, the thing with that offense is you're going to throw it, and yeah, he's going to catch it. But then he's not going to catch that next one. And then the Seahawks are going to get the ball, and then they're going to score. It's just going to happen. And then you're going to throw it to Tupac again, and he's going to catch it. And then you're going to throw it, and he's not going to catch it. And then the Seahawks are going to score again. And we're talking about over a course of 5 or 6 plays, you've given them 2 extra possessions, and they're putting 7 points on the board on a consistent basis. And we talk about that with every team. You know, when you're a lower team playing the Raiders, or you're playing the Mustangs, or you're playing the Seahawks or the Warriors, you have to keep the ball away from these teams because they're experienced, they're talented, they know what they're gonna want to do when they have the ball in their hands. And man, you just try to make the score look as good as you can when it's all said and done. You know, because if you shorten it, if you play keep away, if you can somehow frustrate them, and when the game gets down to the end, maybe you're still hanging around, then who knows? But if you're throwing the ball away in the first quarter, it's not going to matter in the fourth quarter. You have to just get to that fourth quarter with a chance. And we hear coaches say that in football all the time when they're playing a team and they're looking for an upset. If we can just get in the fourth quarter with a chance, then that's what you want, you know. But so many teams are just turn the ball over so many times. They're not giving themselves a chance even at halftime of some of these games. It's like us this weekend against the Titans. You know, we just want to get in the fourth quarter with a chance, you know. Because like I said, I'm a realist as you know, and as to teams, we sit up here and we analyze teams, and just because I'm on one doesn't mean that, you know, my analysis of it's going to be any different, you know. But you just want to get at the end of the ball game and just have an opportunity, have a shot, and then anything can happen. And if anything, when the game's over, you've gained some respect because you played that team tough, and you may not have to sweat it out a little bit. And that's what you want to do in the case. So really, these first two games of the weekend, us and the Titans and the Patriots and the Seahawks, just make the two top teams sweat just a little bit. And then, you know, people think a little bit differently of you when the game's all said and done.
Yeah, and that's the goal. And either, you know, whether you're the Patriots or the Huskies with your matchup, you've got to play each play. You know, you can't because either one of those teams can you know, if you throw an interception, each one's capable of running it all the way back. Each one's capable of, you know, scoring on one play if they're on offense. The one thing that really will be interesting to watch with the Seahawks as we get deeper into the season, the only thing that might ever even come up is that, you know, they do have Jazzy at quarterback, who in the regular season, I'll be honest with you, there's like no difference whatsoever between her and my mind is completely blank
Crevin.
now. Yeah, Crevin. Love you, Crev. It's just a mind blank. It's Friday night, and there's been no difference. My question is going to be, and it looks like two relatively difficult matchups to close the season out, is how she's going to handle the pressure as the starting quarterback whenever, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, okay, maybe a little bit of pressure playing the Warriors in the regular season, but I mean, they've already locked up the number one. There is no penalty if they lose that game, other than everybody just kind of going, oh wow. But in the playoffs, you lose, you're done. And so really, I mean, to me, that is the only potential weakness that I see in that team moving forward through the playoffs is, can they, you know, are you going to be able to exploit that? But other than that, the other two teams, like you said, you got to be in it at the end of the first quarter. You got to be in it at the end of the second quarter. If you break it down into small chunks with either of those two teams, then the game becomes a little bit more manageable. Even if you drive on the first time and you don't score, well, if you take 7.5 minutes, you know, that's almost a quarter that the other
And
team
get
didn't
3
score.
points.
Right, even
You
a
know?
3. Yeah, now don't get down there. I saw one game earlier in the season. A team got down there inside the 20 and took like 6-8 minutes to do so, and then went for it on fourth and didn't get it. And I'm like, no, you kick that. You absolutely kick it. You've used up time. You got to come away with points in there. But that's just, I don't know. Nobody. I have the Psych Troglodyte, you know, school of coaching, and nobody has ever attended it, so I can't really say a whole lot.
I can't say that I'm a graduate of it, so
No.
I've never been to a class.
Most successful teams, honestly, aren't a graduate of it, if that tells you anything.
But yeah, I mean, that's how it's going to be, you know, for a lot of teams. And like you said, you know, as the season winds down in terms of Jazzy at quarterback, you know, and this is, again, this is not a knock. This is not to be disrespectful, but it's really easy to be a really good quarterback when you're throwing to Skinnerd and Jaden and Dante and Alf and all these other players. I mean, they have a great receiving core. I've watched some of their games since Jazzy's been there, I mean, and Jazzy has put it right on the money, and then Jazzy has put into trouble. But when Jazzy's put into trouble, those receivers are what are going to bail, has bailed them out in a lot of situations. And as we get into the playoffs, you know, do those wins start becoming kind of 50-50? Because what's happening right now with the Seahawks is they're winning all of those battles, not just some, every single one of those battles. What Jazzy does a really good job of is even if the ball is in trouble, she knows, hey, I have the best receivers top to bottom in the league. All I have to do is just give them a chance. And 9 times out of 10, it feels like they're going to come down with it. Just like in the Titans game, whenever, and I said this because I've watched it, there was a lot that kind of went into trouble, but the receivers just won those battles. And I think ultimately that's what's going to make the biggest difference. That front line is strong. That wide receiving core is strong. They're going to win their battles. I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch, and it's nice that we kind of have a little bit of a narrative to watch with the Seahawks, that it's not the same team just rolling through, but that you kind of have something to look at because there is a change, and you want to see how it plays out. But the thing is, even with that change, there's so much of that experience from the same team that won that championship last year. Um, that you hate to say that the quarterback play becomes irrelevant, but to a certain point, it's almost just get it near them, and they're going to be able to make plays. But now, whenever they match up against, the Titans, which we've seen them do that as well, you just start wondering, is there ever going to be a point where, one of those games happen where it's just not happening for you? If that happens, then the Seahawks are going to be in trouble. If that kind of game doesn't happen, the Seahawks are going to continue to roll through everybody like they've done all season long, and we're going to be looking at probably handing them the trophy a second time, just under a different name.
Yeah, and part of the problem, and part of the issue that really bails them out on that is, and why I made the breakdown I did earlier, as far as it's gonna fall to Jazzy to have that bad game, because here's the thing, all right, and I'll throw Skinner out there because I love Skinner, and I don't, he gonna get mad, but if you say that Skinner has a really bad game, okay, fine. Well, they just quit throwing it to him, and then they go to Jaden, And Jaden's probably not having a bad game because the odds of both of them too. But if they are, I mean, there's Dante who can catch anything that you throw to him. And if he's out, then there's Taco who's going to do it. So I mean, it's not like, they have, some of their teams like the Patriots where you've got, Tupac is receiver 1A, and there's debate as far as who 1B is. That team, every receiver that they have on that field would go to any team in the league, and if they weren't the number one, they wouldn't be far off of it. And so when you've got that kind of firepower at all four wide receiver spots, I mean, you've got room for a receiver to have a bad day. You've got room for a receiver to not come down with the 50-50s because there's that many more options for them to take. The only thing that's really going to give them much struggle is, to me, is if you go back to the quarterback spot and if she's having a bad day, because a bad day at QB can negate a lot of those wide receiver skills. If she's underthrowing everything and the receiver hasn't beat, well, then that's on the CB. The CB then becomes the best, position to catch the ball if it's thrown short. Or if the receiver's playing over the top and she sails it, well, then it's, again, the CB's ball to catch, or the safeties. So to me, it's like she's going to be the spot that makes the whole thing work or makes it interesting. And as long as she handles the pressure, then, because of their depth at receiving, I just don't see them, running into enough players having a bad day that it becomes very, very, troubling for them.
Yeah, and the fact that you do have, like some teams, you have like receiver one and then like receiver D, receiver A, then receiver D. Like there's no B and C. There's really a large gap between your number one and your number two. Um, where that they have this amazing receiving core that takes, like, it would be different if like even when we saw Jazzy with the Raiders, it's different because there's less pressure on Jazzy, I feel, even though it is a quarterback and it is a pressure packed position, because she knows, hey, I can throw it to whoever steps in any of these positions for this team, and I'm gonna have more than likely the best player in the matchup of whoever they're getting ready to go up against. So I think that helps to kind of ease it. And why I think we've seen Jazzy play at a different level because of the players around, not necessarily Jazzy's play being at a different level than it was, but because she's got players around her who can get open, she's in a better scheme, and she's got just incredible talent at every position, regardless of who's out there for them. So we harped on that for a while, but in any case, I think it's going to be interesting. At the end of the first quarter, be close. At the end of at the end of the half, be close. At the end of the third, be close, and give yourself a chance in the fourth. And then who knows? But I still think that it's going to, it's going to be what it is. I think the Seahawks are going to win pretty handily in that one. And there's going to be no games on Sunday. Is that Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Because that is
The Return of the Walking Dead. That's what everybody's
Valentine's
excited about,
Day.
right? Oh, Valentine. I
Valentine's
got
Day.
you.
That's lovey-dovey day.
Whatever. I'm worried about The Walking
That's right.
Dead.
Right. Me and Mercy are going to go out and have a good time. Yeah. But so the no games on Sunday. It is Lovey Day, and apparently Return of the Walking Dead.
Yes.
I don't watch it, so
Oh my God. I won't hold that against you.
you shouldn't. You shouldn't. But anyways, so it will be back on Monday. That will be the 15th, and it is the Mustangs against the Raiders. Now this is the game we polled. We said, what game are you looking most forward to seeing? And this is the game that is easily taking the cake in terms of that. So fan vote goes to Mustangs against the Raiders. For game of the week, I'm going to go ahead and say Mustangs versus Raiders game of the week. I know you're playing in it, but you would vote it anyways because, come on, let's just be honest. Mustangs versus Raiders is going to be the game of the week. So,
Yeah, there are a few other matchups that would give it some competition, but nothing that fell on this calendar week. So
yeah, like that game on the 14th.
right.
No, just no game. None this weekend. So this will be the game of the week. You can't pick it, but I will. This is going to be a tough one, man. It's really going to be a toss up. I've seen both teams play well in spots and disappoint me in some big games when they've played competition that's been equal to them. Oh man, this is tough. I could flip a coin on this. Your pick is a lot easier than my pick, where you can make ground up on me in terms of this. This Veronica told me to pick the Mustangs. I'm of course gonna pick the Raiders. So I think they're gonna get it done just to
That's
spite
good.
Veronica.
Well, no, because
Just to spite her.
I really need to catch up with you on a pick, so that's fine.
That's right. But no, in reality, I don't know. It really is tough. Both teams, man. I think the Mustangs will win. Just being for real. So I will take it. I don't need you, Veronica, telling me stuff that I already know. I commentated the game, so I was there. Anyways, yeah, I think the Mustangs will beat them.
It's funny.
Um,
I have her chat, like I have all the chat muted, like I'm not reading local, but I can hear the keyboard typing animation just going in the background there. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
scroll back through local to read it.
She's like, we beat them already. We dominated Psych. She's just letting you know.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting to me. The intriguing part of this is, they
Well,
beat.
if you go over there now, are they gonna lose? Or you?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know how that's gonna make me look if we pull this game off. And I mean, it's not like I don't have any issues with some people over there that I would
Maybe.
not want to win or lose. I mean, so
Maybe I should pick the Raiders because it seems like everywhere you go is just losing.
that hurts. We've only lost like one game since I've been a Mustang, and I wasn't at that game, so that's I mean, not that I would have made the difference. I'm just saying it hasn't been the losing hasn't followed me around, Matt. Good grief.
Yeah. I think it will be. I think it will be a very, very good game. I picked the Mustangs. Really, history. Like I said, having beaten them before, I don't think much has really changed in terms of that, other than Psych. I think the Raiders are really starting to pick up, a lot of steam as the season's coming down to an end. Having scrimmed them, played against them, They're a team definitely finally starting to, I believe, finally starting to figure it out. I think the Mustangs though are settled in with the pieces that you guys have added. I think it's going to be a really good game. No outcome is going to surprise me. So at the end of the day, I will take the Mustangs in this one, but in a very, very close ball game. If the Raiders play smart with the ball, because in some of their bigger games, we've seen them turn the ball over. If the Raiders hold on to the football, it's going to be really, really interesting. If they get happy and you guys are set on that cross-field pass, it could be a long day for the Raiders. So, all right, we will recap back through Week 15 in our picks on Saturday, which is tomorrow at 4 p.m. The Titans and the Huskies. Psych has taken the Titans in that ball game. At 7 o'clock, it will be the Patriots and the Seahawks. We all took the Seahawks. Both of us did. There is no games on Sunday. Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy it with your loved one. And Monday at 6, it will be the Mustangs and the Raiders in the Pulse game of the week. I am going to take the Mustangs in that ball game. A very, very close one. The Raiders try to prove me wrong. Let's see what happens. But alrighty. That's it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Psych, do you have any final thoughts, any parting words before we do our usual little housekeeping notes and we send everybody home happy?
No, I think I'm good. I think I've covered everything. Nothing springs to mind, any late minute add-ons or anything like that.
Awesome. Well, like we said, keep your eyes on the Pulse Facebook page as we will kind of release some things, interviews we have set up as we go throughout the week as well. I'm really going to try to do that, and as we put up more polls and get more interactive with you guys. If you would like to be a part of the media team, if you're interested in being a part of the Pulse, contact Psych or myself. If you're interested in being a commentator, being a streamer, being a part of anything in terms of doing with media, you can contact Psych or myself. If you are interested in being a referee, which we need as well, please contact Raz09 Resident. That is Razden McAndrews, or Horns or Halos or Mega. She's not around right now, but you can contact her. Or you can contact me or Psych, and we will point you in the direction that you need to go. If you are interested in being a photographer, which we need some of those as well, contact Duchess Button here in World. Or you can contact me or Psych, and we will get you pointed in the direction that you need to go as well. Like we said, keep your eyes on the Facebook page. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Really, really excited about that. So good luck to all those teams playing this weekend. I hope that you all have a fantastic Valentine's Day. Show that very special person that you love them in a very special way. But for Psych Troglodyte, I am Matt Asadar. This was The Pulse. We'll see you again at our usual time next Thursday. It will be late after all the scrims and all the practices are over. We'll be right back here to recap Week 15, look forward to Week 16, and get even closer to the playoffs and the United Bowl. You guys have a great night.